Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Pokémon Chat-eau. Episode 7, we'll be talking about the Pokemon of Generation 2, so Pokemons 152 to 251. Like I said in the last episode, this generation had a lot to live up to considering it was following Red and Blue and Yellow. And personally, I think they did a pretty good job. Generation 2 has a lot of really great Pokemon, despite them only adding 99 to the whole roster, which, to be fair, was the first time they were including more Pokemon. So it gets better. It gets better throughout the later generation, but it also gets worse, oddly enough, through some generations. A lot of the new Pokemon are actually evolutions to previous Pokemon, which is really cool, but also kind of makes you wonder, where did these guys come from, considering like, if they couldn't evolve back then, how can they suddenly evolve now? It kind of doesn't make sense within the lore itself, but it's whatever nowadays. It's like people didn't realize Pikachu had a pre-evolution Pichu, and I guess they only recently discovered that Pokemon can lay eggs. It's kind of weird, but it's whatever. I think everyone just kind of got over that pretty quickly when they saw how awesome Gen 2 was. And I love how they how they added new evolutions. I'm really mad at myself that I didn't mention evolutions in the last discussion about the Gen 1 Pokemon, because the evolutions are some of my favorite Pokemon ever. And yeah, they're probably overrated, but you know what? I still love them. And Espeon and Umbreon were a great addition to the evolution line. Espeon being my favorite of the two. Speaking of evolutions, we actually have new ways to evolve. We have the usual trading, like back in Gen 1 we had trading through, like, evolving to trade, which was still pretty obnoxious either way, but they made it even more obnoxious for some other Pokemon like Caesar or Slowking. You had to have a specific item before you traded, and you know what? I still hate that. Like, Pokemon does that still. Like, they did that a lot more with Generation 4 and onward. And it's so annoying because a lot of the time you only get one of those items per game. So you had to, like, save it to make sure you have the right Caesar or the right Scyther you want, and then trade it and have them trade it back to you. Make sure they don't keep it for themselves. It was really, like, I didn't get it. But thankfully, the Pokemon that do need to trade for evolution with an item, that they are awesome. Like I said, Caesar is freaking cool. It's just a shame that we had to go through that asinine evolution to get him. There's also evolution through friendship, and that's new. It's really obnoxious, honestly, because unless you are keeping track, which I don't know how you can, you'll never really know when your Pokemon is friendly enough to evolve for Espeon and Umbreon. And one method I would always use to make sure I got them up was, the EV building items like proteins, zinc, carbos, all those. The Pokemon's friendship actually goes up quite a bit when you use one of them on a Pokemon. And I would buy a ton of those and give them each one until they were happy enough, and you can only give about 10 each for each stat, and that would raise their happiness. But the only problem with that is it's very expensive. Each one of those costs 10,000 Pokédollars, and you need about 55 in order to raise its happiness all the way. So that's about 500,000 Pokédollars just to evolve one of them, if you want to do it real quick. Now with Gen 7, they made it a lot easier. I'm sure other generations did too, but Gen 7 made it super fast that you can evolve through friendship, and I'm so happy, because that was so dumb. I mean, I get it. I understand why it's there, and I do like that, because we have moves like Return, which are stronger whenever the more friendlier they are. But it's whatever. It was just obnoxious back in the day. This is the first time a Pokemon game had the legendary Pokemon on the cover, because before then we had, Blastoise, Charizard, and Venusaur for Pokemon Green, and Pikachu, who were headliners of the box. Now, from here on out, it was the legendary, and gold had Ho-Oh, silver had Lugia, and crystal had Suicune, which all of them are pretty awesome. But that just reminded me of Suicune, Entei, and Raikou, which were a pain in the ass to get. At least they mitigated it a little bit in Crystal, where you can catch Suicune, without it running. But those two, oh my gosh. There was one, I actually remember this one time I was going up to Lake of Rage, and I actually ran into Raikou, and I didn't have a way to prevent it from running, so I was just like, oh, let's see what I have in my Pokeball. A fastball. I threw a fastball on it, and I actually caught it with one fastball, and I felt so good, because, I was still in the middle of my game, of my journey, so I was able to use the Raikou throughout the rest of the game to beat it. It was awesome. I doubt that'll ever happen again, but yeah, roaming Pokemon are just annoying, back then at least. Now I have a method to catch roaming Pokemon. I just don't, why do we need a method for roaming Pokemon? One thing I did find odd was the inclusion, because they added Steel and Dark types to the roster in this generation. Yeah, it takes so long to actually catch one of those. Like, if I don't know, I might be mistaken, but I believe Houndour can only be found in Kanto. Like, when you can catch it, it's like, why do you have to go through post game to catch a Dark type? Same thing with Sneasel. You can only catch it on Mount Silver, which is post game pretty much, right before Red. At least with Steelix and Caesar, if you get a Metal Coat, you can get one of them. And I don't even know if you could buy Metal Coat and all that. You can nowadays in Sun and Moon, but you'd have to, I think they just give you one for free, and then you're just pretty much screwed with the other one. You'd have to trade it over from another friend who's not using it, which they most likely are, because they want a Caesar or Steelix. But I won't rant about that again. Let's go ahead and go to this week's polls. This time we had, similar to the Gen 1 question, which starter is your favorite of Generation 2? Chikorita, Cyndaquil, or Totodile? On Twitter we had 4 votes, with Chikorita and Cyndaquil getting 1, and Totodile getting 2, so 25, 25, 50. But then Amino, we had 49 votes, with Chikorita at 20.4%, Cyndaquil at 51%, and Totodile 28.6%. So once again, the Fire-type starter just dominates the rest of them. And which is a shame, because Chikorita is one of my favorite Pokemon, and that's definitely the one I'd choose. And it only got 20%, so cute little bean. But as much as I love Chikorita, I could say that it's the worst starter to pick for this game specifically, because Chikorita is not good against any of the gym leaders. Like, we got Flying is the first. Chikorita is weak to that. The second one is Bug. Chikorita is weak to that. She's not a very good one to start with. And I can understand people choosing Cyndaquil, because I think Typhlosion, even, like, if we look at their final evolutions, Typhlosion, I believe, is the strongest one. At least it's the most competitive. But, and it's the most popular, which is weird, because I believe, people say that Venusaur is better than Charizard, yet Charizard is still, like, the most popular one. Typhlosion is still, like, the most popular of these 3, and it's the most competitive, which, I mean, good for it. I don't know. I just like Chikorita. I don't really care much for Meganium or Bayleaf. I have a soft spot for Chikorita, which I'll explain in a later episode. And Totodile is just cute. Now let's get to what people had to say about the Pokemon. We got 2 entries from Discord, and we got General Curlia coming back saying, "Fuck Dunsparce, worst Pokemon. I hate it." But other than that, crappy Pokemon. Gen 2 has a lot of solid Pokemon. What's wrong with the Tsuchinoko? No, honestly, Dunsparce is pretty bad. He's got no evolution. It's got awful stats. Like, it's just kind of a waste. There's kind of there with some fat, thick snake Pokemon with a cone for a tail. Although I would find it hilarious if they gave it a Mega Form, and the Mega Form was OP and banned. That would be so awesome. I would love for that to happen, but it won't because it's Dunsparce. Who gives a shit about Who gives a shit about Dunsparce? Next up, we got Lightning Runner, also from Discord, saying Water Croc is the best. Also Miltank. A lot of use out of that Pokemon. I mean, specifically Whitney's Miltank is just a horrible monstrosity, but Miltank's cute. As for Water Croc, do you mean Totodile or do you mean for Alligator? You didn't specify Lightning Runner. What the fuck? But either way, I do like the Totodile lineup. Next up, we got Amino. And we got Pokemon LOL123 say they're good. Thanks, Pokemon LOL123. Next, we got Shallow Sucks with 2 S. Wow, that's a lot of S's. They said, I think they aren't as good because they aren't Drifloon. Yeah, okay, Drifloon is Gen 4, so whatever. Next one. Next one is Groudon Master saying, they sucks except Cyndaquil and Tyranitar and Lugia. Well, I do agree Tyranitar is pretty awesome, and Cyndaquil is adorable. And of course, Lugia is a badass. But you don't like any other ones? There's a lot of great Pokemon to choose from there. To each their own. Alright, next up we got Circus Freak Danny, and he says, definitely one of the best generations. Some of the most unique and awesome Pokemon originating from it. Smeargle is definitely my favorite from it, but Ho-Oh and Scizor should not be overlooked. Excuse me. Overall, I believe it is the third best. And yeah, I agree, Scizor is awesome, and so is Ho-Oh. I really like Ho-Oh. But I think I like Lugia just a little bit more. Last up, we got Video Game Boy coming back again, saying, not really one of my favorites. It's in 6th place right in front of Kalos. But it does have great Pokemon like Azumarill, Miltank, Kingdra, etc. Oh man, Kingdra was really cool because it was one of the few Pokemon that only have one weakness, Dragon. And the 8th gym leader used it and was terrifying. And every other Miltank aside from Whitney's is adorable. So there you go. And Azumarill is cute. Marill was one of the first Gen 2 Pokemon we saw back in the first Pokemon movie, along with Snubbull. Who was also, I like Granbull a little bit, but not so much Snubbull. This is a good place to stop for now. Overall, Generation 2 is still awesome. It's really hard for me to pick a favorite, but I think Generation 1 still beats it a little bit, just because we have more Pokemon to choose with. But it's still a great addition to the Pokemon lineup. Next episode, we'll be talking about Pokemon 2000. Or is it Pokemon the Movie 2000? Or Pokemon 2000 the Movie? Whatever, one of those titles. Pokemon 2000. How does it hold up against the first movie? Do you like this one? Is it bad? Is it okay? Let me know what you think in the comments to be in the next episode. And as always, if you want to be in the next episode, you can follow my Twitter, follow the Amino, join the Discord. All of that's going to be in the description below. And hopefully I will hear back from you guys and we can talk about Pokemon 2000. And if all goes well, I'll have a buddy of mine join me for that episode. So until then, this is Joel Elon, screw you Cam, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.